Greetings, everyone. I'm Jed Shlackman, a holistic counselor and energy healer. For today's video, I'll be speaking about the topic of tribes or tribalism and kind of looking at the ways that we can navigate and transcend perhaps some of the limitations of tribal consciousness. So let's begin just by considering what we're referring to when we speak about being part of a tribe. A tribe is really a social construct. So it's a group of people that have some connection, some commonality or shared traits or shared goals or intentions. If we look at more traditional indigenous types of societies, we kind of have the image of a small group of people who are part of the same ethnic or ancestral group, and they support each other for their survival. So having a social group of that type is valuable and useful because we can support one another, we can protect one another, we can perform different duties, different roles within that community to help ensure the well-being of the group as a whole. So there's obviously a value, a benefit from coming together as a group, as a tribe. And when we're growing up as a child, you could look at your family as your first tribe that you belong to, the first group that you're a part of. Some families are smaller, some are more broad or expansive, have more extensions in a way. So you might have a family that's just one or two parents and one child. You might have another family that's a couple different parents, several children, grandparents, uncles, cousins, etc., that are all pretty strongly or closely connected to each other. So there are different ways that can appear. And as we grow older, we tend to connect more with additional tribes, things that we identify with as groups that we belong to in a sense. So this really relates to this fundamental need or desire that we have for belonging, to be part of some social group or unit. And one of the reasons that we desire to belong is because being part of a tribe does have benefits. It has the potential to protect us, to give us safety and security, to help us feel that we are supporting others, so that we're contributing to a community around us. So there are those social connections, and in many ways we can see there is a positive aspect to these social groups or tribes that we're discussing here. So as a child, you might identify with a group of peers, with your class in school, with your school in general. You might identify with the city where you live. You might identify with the state or country that you live in. You might identify with a college when you go to college as an adult. You may identify with a sports team. You may identify with a musical group. You might identify with your sexual orientation or preference. People can identify with all kinds of things in a sense that give them a sense of belonging. So as you move beyond your initial family, you're going to more consciously or intentionally seek out tribes that you want to be a part of. As we grow up into adolescence, that's a big part of our identity, seeing what social group we feel we connect with, or that gives us that sense of belonging. If you think about clubs, those are tribes in a sense. Gangs, those are also a form of tribe. People feel that they're belonging to something, to a group of people who are there in some way to support or protect them. In exchange, of course, there's allegiance to that group. So the group backs you up and you back the group up if you adhere to that particular social agreement that exists there. So this is very much a common part of human interactions, of human social groups, that we have these different tribes that we connect with that bring that sense of belonging. And part of that can involve giving us a sense of security, that there's safety in numbers, that we're protected by being part of a group, or that that group will give us some resources that will help elevate us in some way or help us thrive in our life. So the group might provide some material support. That tribe or group might be providing some type of social status, some type of nepotism in a sense, where they help bring opportunities to people who are part of their group. So this is a big part of a variety of groups, a variety of tribes that we might affiliate or associate with throughout our lives. As we consider this, it's also really significant to consider what might be the limitations that arise if we're part of a tribe, if we have a strong affiliation or association to any particular social group. So it could be actually any group from the family all the way up to your religion, to your country, to any club you belong to. If you're overly loyal to that group and the sense of belonging that you get with that, you might overlook the shadow side of the group, things that that group is doing that are actually harmful to society in some way, or constricting your own personal growth, your own personal evolution or expansion of consciousness. With pretty much any group, there tends to be some expectation of conformity, of you agreeing to the values of that group, supporting their goals or agendas. So putting the group ahead of your own personal beliefs or interests in some situations, and that could present an obstacle to your own well-being, to you actually conforming to your own values, your own beliefs, your own needs or interests or well-being. So we want to see where one tends to override the other, where the group is forcing you maybe to put the group ahead of what's in your interests or what's actually supporting your health and well-being. So in some cases, the tribe is actually constricting us. It's actually keeping us from growing or evolving, from having a more individuated consciousness, having some values or ideas that are actually representative of a higher consciousness level than the group has attained. So the group might feel threatened if one of their members starts to challenge them or go beyond them, and they might try to rein that person in some way, to hold them back, to pressure them to comply with the group, to conform, rather than for the group to actually reflect on itself and see its own limitations, its own shadows, etc., and allow the individual to be a catalyst for the group to evolve. The group may try to hold the individual back. This happens quite often in our human societies. There are some examples where the group is open to allowing that individual to be a catalyst to help the group transform, to help the group elevate its consciousness. But from what I've observed, and perhaps many of you have observed, perhaps more often than not, the group tends to impose some form of conformity to hold back that individual from their evolution when they are starting to transcend the consciousness of the group. So this is why I speak about sometimes the need to transcend tribalism. We might have certain psychological needs being met by our group affiliation and belonging, but we also at a certain point might have a need to individuate more, to pursue our own personal potential or spiritual growth, and the group might be inhibiting that in some cases. You might be able to think of situations in your own life where you felt that the tribe around you really no longer served your needs or interests. They may have at one time been something that you resonated with, you felt a strong connection to, but as you evolve, you might become a different person that really doesn't resonate with that tribe anymore. And it's okay to branch out on your own, to go beyond that group or tribe. You might find some other group, some other tribe that you now connect to better, or you might feel you're most comfortable kind of on your own for a while, not having a strong attachment to any tribe. That might be challenging if you have this strong attachment to the need for belonging, but it may be a period of time where that tribe or group is actually not really supporting your interests or your growth. You becoming who you're kind of destined to be, who your soul would like for you to evolve to become. So tribalism is something we often see leads to people actually engaging in some very shadow-oriented, antisocial type of behaviors. An example could be someone who's a fanatic for something. It could be a fanatic for a sports team who gets into a fight with a fan of the opposing team, and they end up engaged in violence. Someone gets injured, and all just over some argument over sports, over teams playing each other in athletic competition, that from a more objective point of view or a rational point of view isn't really something to fight over. It's just people playing a game. You'll also see a lot of that shadowy type behavior with religious groups and political groups. They are so preoccupied with their own status or power that they become very hostile to other groups, to people who have a different point of view. They become very tyrannical in a sense toward people from within their own ranks who might try to upset the status quo, who might have some complaint or criticism of the group. They'll turn on that person and become very hostile and aggressive and really inconsiderate of that person's well-being and of any constructive criticism that person might have. The group might not be open to hearing it. They might feel threatened by it. And this is something we see happen in many group cultures, whether it's a corporation, a government, a religion, a family. So in many of those contexts, the tribe will turn on its own member if that member starts to become a nonconformist and not just faithfully follow whatever the tribe is directing them to do or to think. So if you notice that happening, it's perhaps time to pause and question for yourself whether the value or benefit of belonging to that group, to that tribe, outweighs whatever negative aspect is present from how they're interfering with you, expressing who you are, you communicating your own values or concerns, etc. Ultimately, any tribe or group we're a part of is kind of a temporary aspect of our human experience. We didn't belong to that group before coming into the human experience. We don't belong to that group when we move on from this physical plane of existence. It's just there as part of our human experience. And as human beings, having a social group to belong to certainly has some benefits and values. It helps people survive in many contexts. So we're not here to discount the value of tribes or of belonging. It's about seeing a bigger picture where we can appreciate both the light side and shadow sides of it, and we could see different stages of our own personal growth, starting from when we're very young, we're an infant or toddler, and it's essential to have attachment to our family. We need them to protect us, to nurture us, etc. But then as we grow older, as we individuate, as we become adults, and are more the creators of our own life path, we can be more selective in what groups or tribes we attach to or not attach to. And we can become kind of more whole and complete within ourselves. We might not need per se a tribe as much as we become more advanced in our own individual development. It's not that we completely cast aside being part of groups or tribes, but we're not so enmeshed with them that we can't see when it's time to move past or transcend a particular tribe. I hope that this discussion of tribes and tribalism, how we navigate that and perhaps transcend it, is helpful. For those that are interested in holistic health and personal growth, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.